was writing birthday greetings to the monster Jeffrey Epstein. I was the first on the scene to recover the bodies of my fellow astronauts who died when Space Shuttle Columbia exploded during re-entry. In 2011, when Trump was hosting a reality show and peddling conspiracy theories against President Barack Obama, I was sitting next to my wife's hospital bed as she recovered from a gunshot wound to the head. My point is this: I've been through a lot worse in service to my country. The President and Pete Hegseth are not going to silence me. They aren't going to keep me from speaking out, and they're not going to keep me from doing my job. Enough of the bullying, enough of the intimidation, enough of the threats, enough of your nonsense. Doesn't help anyone in our country afford their groceries or pay their medical bills. And it erodes the rights of every American. My job is to fight for them, to stand up for the Constitution, and nothing is going to stop me from doing my job. Thank you, and I'll take some questions. Hold on a second. Give me that folder there. Just sit this down here. Can you, well, I know it's Manu from CNN, but for everybody, just starting with you, just say who you are, what station.
The White House said today that Admiral Bradley gave the order for that second strike on the Pentagon Probe. They also said this was a lawful strike. Yesterday you said the second strike could be a war crime. Do you think that Bradley committed a war?
Let me just start, Manu, by saying that there needs to be an investigation. We need to pull some of these members of DOD and the military into the armed services committees in the House and the Senate. That's what the White House is saying. I hope what has been reported is not accurate. I revere members of the United States Navy, especially special operators, Navy SEALs. These are the most highly trained, individuals in our military. I have deep, deep respect for them. So I hope what we are hearing is not accurate. I will say, though, as somebody who has sunk 2 ships myself, that folks in the military need to understand, the law of the sea, the Geneva Conventions, what the law says. And I'm concerned that if there were, in fact, as reported, survivors clinging to a damaged vessel, that could be, over a line. I hope it's not the case. I truly do.
Should Admiral Bradley resisted that order?
Again, I am, not sure of all the facts yet. I don't want to prejudge before we have all the information. I think it's important for there to be an investigation. The Inspectors General of DOD needs to investigate this. Unfortunately, an unqualified Secretary of Defense fired a bunch of them and got rid of a bunch of lawyers. Pete Hegseth, do I have a lot of confidence in DOD? Well, hopefully we have, Inspectors General there that will be doing an impartial investigation. I think we should wait for the results of those investigations.
Regarding this press conference and the investigation into your actions, have you spoken with DOD or DOJ or anyone? Have there been any conversations, any interviews yet?
Like I said in my remarks, I was notified of a potential court-martial through a tweet by the Secretary of Defense. I mean, think about that for a second. How ludicrous is that? That's the only notification that we have received to date. And I think that says a lot about who Pete Hegseth is and what he cares about. He doesn't care about the law. He doesn't care about process. He doesn't care about accountability. He cares about views on his Twitter account. And that's a big problem. I mean, I want to ask you guys this question. Have you ever in the history of our country seen a less qualified or less professional Secretary of Defense? I cannot think of one. Yeah,
Senator Kelly, Nathaniel Reed, Scripps News. Are you concerned about threats on your life? Have you stepped up your personal security and, of course, the security of your wife?
Hey, I'm no stranger. You know, Gabby and I are no stranger to political violence. We get a lot of threats already. She continues to get threats. She gets threats on her life, more so today because what Donald Trump said about me 10 days ago, that I should be hanged, that I should be executed. The threats on us have obviously gone up. I'm not going to get into details about my personal security. We take these threats very seriously, and I take, you know, the threats from this president seriously. How many times in our country's history have you heard a president of the United States say that members of the Senate and the House should be hanged and executed? I mean, I can't think of one. Those words carry a lot of weight. The number of threatening calls that we get into our office have skyrocketed. And they were very graphic. I mean, some of them were put, not from my office, but another member put them out there for people to hear. The ones we get are worse than that. So I take this seriously. But again, you know, that's why he does these things. Because he thinks he can shut me up. I have First Amendment rights. I'm a United States Senator. I am doing my job. I'm on the Armed Services and the Intelligence Committee. He ain't going to shut me up. I mean, he intimidates other people. I'm not intimidated by Donald Trump or Pete Hegseth or anybody else.
Thank you, Senator. Nicole Kellyanne with CBS News.
Yeah.
Are you aware, just back on Venezuela, are you aware of whether or not the Secretary has had, and Secretary Hegseth had, is if he's had any conversations with any members of the Armed Services Committee, and in terms of these calls to investigate, do you believe the Secretary and Admiral Bradley should appear before the Armed Services?
They absolutely should appear. You know, I've talked to the chairman of Armed Services about it and the ranking member. They should absolutely appear. I'm not so confident they will. This is not an administration that tends to follow any norms. But we need to get to the bottom of this, of what happened. And we are not Russia and Iraq. I'm really concerned if the reporting is correct. Again, I hope the reporting about this incident is not accurate. What the White House said today actually indicated it might be, but we're going to have to see.
Going back to the DOJ matter, are you considering any legal actions or the threats of being court-martialed or any of the tweets or threats of investigations?
You mean like me suing Donald Trump for what he said? I think what he said about us is dangerous. It's ridiculous. It is a violation of our constitutional rights as Americans and our rights as senators to do our job, and he's trying to intimidate us. But I have not considered that, not at this point. Yeah.
Thank you, Senator. Senator do you see this as fundamentally First Amendment issue for you that you want to highlight against the president to strike this balance here? And how do you see the whole process playing out?
Well, again, this isn't really about me. And that's why I think people are kind of got this a little bit off here. It's not about me. It's not about the other 5 members in the video. It's not about Alyssa Slotkin, Chris DeLuzio, Chrissy Houlihan, Jason Crow, Maggie Goodlander. It's not about us. This is about a president who doesn't want anybody to say anything that he does not like. I don't think he understands the Constitution. I'm serious about this. I think he is ignorant to the Constitution and the rule of law. And he just wants to silence us, and it starts with us. And that's one of the reasons people say, well, why wouldn't you just back off? Because this isn't about me. This is about what he will do next. Who's he going to go after next? Which service member? which government employee, which citizen who decides to say something that this president doesn't like, and then he goes after them, in my case with the Secretary of Defense. Who knows what's next? With the Attorney General? I mean, this DOJ has been just, attacking people for all kinds of stuff. And what's next? Our First Amendment rights? Ain't happening.
Noah Robertson, The Washington Post. Can you tell us anything more about the FBI's involvement in the inquiry with you and the other lawmakers who appeared in the video? Have you scheduled an interview with them?
We haven't heard all that much. We got notified. I think the better question is, what is their motivation? Like, did this come from the FBI? Do you guys think the FBI, they went into their meeting that morning and said, of all the stuff that's going on in the country right now, we got to get right on top of this. These guys said something the president didn't like, and now we've got to do something about it. Or do you think it's possible that the president told his FBI director to tell the FBI agents to reach out to these guys? So I think this is a good question for you. All of you in here should be asking the FBI those questions. I don't have the answers to them. Yeah.
Can you tell us anything more about the Senate Armed Services Committee's inquiry into the September 2nd strike? The nature of the request for information submitted, what information has been sent back from DOD so far in your conversations with the chairman?
Well, we had a brief on the first 3 strikes, and I have said this, before 10 days ago, that they're tying themselves in knots trying to explain why this entire operation is legal. And I imagine eventually, I hope you have an opportunity to see the legal argument that they made to do this. It's important for the American people to see it. We have to get folks before the committee. And, that process might take a little while. But I ultimately think we're going to get to the bottom of this. And again, if what seems to happen actually happened, I'm really worried about our service members. I was talking about this from the beginning of this operation, that the thing that I am most concerned about is the very difficult situations that this Secretary of Defense is going to put service members into. And it's because this guy is so unqualified for the job. I mean, think about this. He runs around on a stage talking about lethality and warrior ethos and killing people. We have the most competent, capable military this planet has ever seen by far. That's not the message that needs to come from the Secretary of Defense. The message should be about what's our mission and accountability and the rule of law and training. And let me make sure you're equipped to do really hard jobs. Let me give you all the tools you need to do something that often is an impossible mission. And instead, he runs around on a stage like he's a 12-year-old playing Army. And it is ridiculous. It is embarrassing. And I can't imagine what our allies think of looking at that guy in this job, one of the most important jobs in our country. In my view, after the President of the United States, it is the next most important job. He is in the National Command Authority for Nuclear Weapons. And last night, he's putting out on the internet turtles with rocket-propelled grenades. Have you seen this? This is the Secretary of Defense. This is not a serious person. He should have been fired after Signalgate. And then every single day after that.
Just to put a finer point on it, because you were quite vocal about the sort of flimsy legality that was being offered during the briefings, were these sort of strikes that are now in the news what you were making reference to when you posted that video telling members of the military that they needed to feel okay just obeying orders that they felt were illegal?
based on who this president is and who the Secretary of Defense is, and specifically things that the president has said in the past and things he was talking about doing in the future. Let me give you an example. 2016, he's talking about something on a debate stage that was clearly illegal, and he was reminded by Brett Baer from Fox News that that would be an illegal order. Military won't do that. You know what the president's response was to that? The military will not refuse my orders, implying that even if they are illegal, they will not refuse them. He's also talked about shooting protesters in the legs. Then he's talking about deploying more troops to American cities and using those cities as training grounds. Do you know what that means? That means using the American people for the military to train on. So we were looking forward to try to head something off at the pass that could have been really, really bad. So it wasn't about this specific thing. Yeah.
Jennifer Schott, the State's Newsroom. The NDAA conference report is set to come out later this week or over the weekend, early next week. In addition to that, you all have not yet conferenced out the defense appropriations bill for the current fiscal year. Do you see either of those as options for you and other lawmakers concerned about the Defense Department, the actions in Venezuela, and other situations to address those legislatively in either the NDAA or defense approach?
Well, I think it could be if we could get bipartisan